All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Spotlight Show. And with me here is Mr. Adebayo. My name is Temi Jokwe. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. It's so good to have you here. So we have on the call young entrepreneurs that are ready to learn so much from your entrepreneurial journey. And I have so many questions to ask you today. And I believe that you also have questions for Mr. Dari. So while I ask mine, please do well to pull down your questions. All right. So when it's time, you can go ahead to ask yours. So let's start with you started your entrepreneurial journey at 18, just after secondary school, and with zero capital. Can you share what motivated you to start Dustler Creations, and how did you navigate the challenges at such a young age?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Yeah. So when I finished secondary school, I wrote jump, and I didn't gain admission on my first try, and I didn't just want to sit back, doing nothing. So I remember that when I was in school, or when I was graduating from secondary school, we had this yearbook where we wrote, everybody writes their name, their best color, their best food, the course you want to study in the university, and so on and so forth. And I thought about it that we can actually digitize this thing, because a few years it'd be difficult for you to find a book, or the book might have torn or something. So I approached a couple of schools, and fortunately I was able to get a few schools to believe in the idea. And then I worked with a cameraman. We went to the school, took the pictures of the students, gave them a form to fill to write all their information, and then we digitized it. So we had it on a compact CD.
Wow.
Way back then, you still had CD, DVD players, and what have you. So at the time, every student picture comes up, and then it plays the music and so on and so forth, like that. So it was just a drive not to be idle, and also just make good use of my while I was waiting to gain admission.
Oh, wow. I believe that at a young age, doing that kind of business, there will be some challenges that you face. Can you just share one of them?
Yeah, I remember that the photographer I was working with was quite older than I was. I think it was about 10 years older than me. So I leveraged on his own expertise. He was photography business, and of course, you can imagine at that young age, of course, there will be mistakes that were made along the line. Even while at the university and running business as well, definitely there were errors that we have this Embark Academy to ensure that younger entrepreneurs have an opportunity to learn from entrepreneurs who have gone way ahead of them.
Wow. So I'm going to talk about two things from what Mr. Dari said. He mentioned that he didn't want to be idle. And I think that's one thing that young entrepreneurs, should hold on to. You don't have to wait till when you have all the money. He started with zero capital, right? So when you have an idea, please do not sleep on it. Do not wait till when you have all the money to start it. Get right into it. There will be challenges that you face, right? But please do not allow that, to disturb you. You will definitely, overcome the challenges. So, sir, thank you very much for, that answer. I want to still ask question about the challenging moment. What was the most challenging moment in your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you overcome it, sir?
There have been a couple of challenges. One I can remember vividly was back then when we finished university, myself and my partner, we went into business full time. And there was some sort of economic recession in the country, in Nigeria. We were in Ilorin, Kwara State then. And majority of parents who had children in school, we were working with schools, deploying websites, school management platform to the schools. Schools had challenges getting school fees from parents because there was a recession and governments could not pay. And, the city or the town was largely, we had government workers largely in the town. So because our customers were not getting paid, we were also not getting paid, of course. So we had a lot of challenges, and a lot of school owners could not pay for our services.
Wow.
And because they could not pay for our services, we couldn't pay salaries. So, we had, our staff, we were owing salaries, we owed salaries for 3 months. Sometimes we just managed to give the staff, please, can you just take this money and, manage for your transportation and what have you. And of course, a couple of them had to just resign, one after the other.
Wow.
And it got to a point that it was just myself and my co-founder. And, we just had to keep the business running. We had to keep the business running then. I mean, it was a very tough one for us then. And, we couldn't.
You will definitely face challenges, right? This thing, but one thing that is so certain is that you can see what Mr. Dari mentioned, having to let go your staff because of this kind of issue. And you mentioned something about your partner, and I would like to ask a question about that. So, what inspired you to co-found Edverse? And did you ever imagine it to grow to have over 500,000 users across 11 countries?
So, I mentioned the fact that, or you said it, that why did I start Dustler Creation?
Yeah.
So one of the customers, or one of the very first customers of Dustler Creations, I was seated in the proprietor's office on this fateful day. And she mentioned that they were struggling with managing the data of their students in terms of, result computation, tracking payment of fees. And, somebody was discussing with her, they wanted to program Excel to be able to develop an offline system that would help them to manage, the data of the students. So I just quietly listened to them. And when they finished the meeting, I approached her and said, why would you want to, customize Excel or program Excel to do this for you? We can actually build you a system to do this.
Wow.
And as at then, my co-founder now had told me that, I'm very good with software development. If you have projects, we can work on it together. So I just told her that we can actually develop a software for you that will handle this instead of programming Excel. And she was like, are you serious? I said, yes. I'll come on I can't remember the day, but I just thought I'll come around with my partner and we'll discuss. And that was how we started.
Wow.
And that was in 2008, sorry. And that was how we started. And we developed the first version of the product.
Wow.
We designed a website for the school. But of course, as you can imagine, 1 year down the line, the project wasn't successful. So after we finished university, we went back. I did an internship with a software company. Then I was interning as a website designer. And every time I tried to design websites, I would have a headache, So I started going out with my boss for presentations, and along the line, my boss was like, I think you do better in all this, customer relations, sales, than, trying to design website and what have you. So, and I told him about this project that myself and my partner did while I was at the university. So he also had a similar business. He had a similar platform. He was deploying software solutions to polytechnics and universities. So it was like, okay, or do you want us to go back to that secondary school you worked with and deploy my own system, his own system to them? So I was like, okay, let me talk to my partner and let's see what happens. So I spoke to him, and it was like he has actually been thinking about it, that we should even go full-fledged, in running a business. So I told my boss then that, we wouldn't want to do this. So we went back to the customer. We said, can you give us a last chance to make this work? You don't need to pay us. We're going to make the system works. And then if it works, we can continue. And that was how we went back to the customer. We were able to redesign the system. And today we have over 2,000 schools on the platform.
Wow. I want to believe that you guys are jotting things down, young entrepreneurs on this call. I want to say two things, from what Mr. Dari said. He mentioned that this idea came out from a conversation in one of the, the principal's office. And I want you to understand that you can't just, sleep on conversations. As young entrepreneurs, there could be conversations that you could be having with someone, and then an idea will just drop in. You need to just work on that idea and see what the idea has brought Mr. Dari into now. And one thing I also want to mention is that he mentioned his partner, right? He's good with customer relation and all of that, so there's actually no big deal in you deciding to partner with someone. You can't do everything, right? So there's no big deal in you partnering with someone. Thank you so much for that. There's something I want to ask. I know that many startups fail most times, maybe the first year and all of that. So we have young entrepreneurs on this call. I want you to tell us that what would you say are the top reasons startups fail? And then how can young entrepreneurs avoid these pitfalls?
There are a couple of reasons. I think one of the reasons would be lack of proper market research. Just like the class we heard with the Embark students, to say that you don't just start a business because you want to make money, or you want to start a business because you just feel like starting a business. Whenever it is that you have a business idea, you need to first of all do a market research and be sure that what exactly is the problem that the market has. Is it exactly the way I'm thinking about it? How do I want to serve the market? Is there a way the market wants to be served? Because when you really are able to understand the pain point of the market, and you're able to develop a product or a service that solves that problem, or that need, or meets that need, then definitely you would be able to, provide a solution or a product or a system that the market will buy. So that's first. And secondly is, knowing what it takes to run the business, as it were. So I think a lot of startups fail because of knowledge gap. Right. So it is very important to acquire the right knowledge to run a business. Developing a product is different from running a business. I mean, I might be good with website designs, right? And I can design a very lovely website, but it doesn't mean I can run the business of designing websites for people. So you need to understand that it's one thing to know the skill of providing the service or developing a product, is another thing to know how to what it is to run a business. And I remember that for us, one of the things that helped us, after some years, we've been trying to do this on our own knowledge, because I've never had to submit a CV to look for a job, same as my partner. So the only experience we had were when we were doing internships, while at school. So we didn't really know what it is to run a business, right? So, but when we started getting into acceleration programs or entrepreneurship programs, as we might decide to call it, that really helped us to know a lot of things: how to manage finances, how to manage your team, how to plan. So that really helped us to be able to structure things a lot. So I think that knowledge of running the business, matters a lot. I know that a lot of people will say lack of funds, but we started the business with zero capital. In fact, after the second time we went to the customer, of course, they later paid us when, the whole thing worked. It was the fund we got from there that we used for our corporate affairs registration with the government. It was that money we used to buy a domain name for the company. It was that money we used to open a bank account. So we literally started the business without any capital, as it were. And, of course, we've raised funds over and over in the business, but for us to have gotten it to 0.0 to when we started raising funds, we didn't need capital to do that.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, sir. I want to say something about what Mr. Dari just said now. I know a lot of us like the part where he said himself and his partner, they've never had to submit their CV and all of that. I don't want us to just run away with that. One thing he mentioned is about knowledge gap, right? If you have a business idea, you don't just, jump into it and start the business. You need to get enough information about it. You need to do your market research. I remember there was a time I just had this thought that, people should need this particular product. And, I started it and I realized that probably 2 or just 3 persons, patronized me. And in my mind, I thought that was a good idea. Everyone needed it. I didn't do my research. I thought, oh, because I think the thing works for me, everyone should be able to, to get the product. So it doesn't work like that. So as young entrepreneurs on this call, you should do your market research properly, and then you should make sure that you get enough knowledge, right? So before I move to the next question, talking about market research, can you tell us like different ways in which people can do market research? Is it just about meeting people and all of that?
I think, I mean, the simplest of forms will be to, maybe if it's something you can interact with people within a particular neighborhood to get a good sample size, you can actually do verbal interview with people. Of course, you have to come up with your questions. That what are the things I need to ask these people for me. I mean, it shouldn't just be, do you like breeds, for instance. I mean, your questions should be such that you're not directly asking the question, but at the time when the people your respondents, by the time they answer maybe 2 or 3 questions, you'll be able to decipher if this is something that they need. So if it's something that you can actually go within your environment, you can leverage on one-on-one interviews. Otherwise, you can create a simple form online. There are quite a lot of form tools on the internet, and then you share with people, you look at their responses, and from there you'll be able to actually see what the need is, and you then create a prototype or a better version of what your product or service is.
Okay, thank you, sir. So one thing I'm taking away from that is you don't just ask people direct questions. There's a way you need to, coin your questions to be able to get what they want. You can't just meet someone and ask the person, do you love bread? Some people can just tell you yes, so that you can just let them go, right? So there should be a way you coin your questions to be able to get the information you need from them. And I want to ask, sir, I know that you've been to several, countries, across the world, and I believe that you've interacted with several, entrepreneurs across the world. So I want to ask, what's the biggest lesson you have learned from interacting with entrepreneurs from different parts of the world?
So I think, sometimes you think you're not doing it right? But sometimes it's refreshing to know that people also face the kind of challenges that you face, right? And that's one thing I think I've learned. Of course, you also interacting with other entrepreneurs, you see how they are handling one aspect of their business, and you can learn from them. But I think the most important one is just knowing that fact that, okay, I'm not the only one going through this thing that I'm going through as an entrepreneur. And then you can leverage on the experience of other people on how they've solved their own businesses. I mean, even when you go for pitch competitions, you see how different people bring out their data. Sometimes you see somebody talk about what they are doing and you're like, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe I'm on scale 7 and this person is on scale 5. But you see the way they project what they're doing. So you are basically able to learn from, how they are projecting their businesses. You learn from their failures as well. And, that has helped me to stay motivated and to keep going.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. So it's not just about, okay, I don't have the funds to travel out now. You should attend meetings, attend trainings, network with people. You don't just keep your idea to yourself, like, oh, I'm covering it up. You can't do it alone, right? I believe when you interact with people, you get to know how they do things. There's a program I usually watch on, I don't know if it's YouTube, about people pitching their ideas for investors to invest. I believe that young entrepreneurs, you should also do that. With that, you'll be able to learn. So don't just say, oh, because I can't go out now, I'm in a space where I don't have money to go for meetings. From all those, videos, there's so much to learn, and you can see from what Mr. Dare said, like interacting with entrepreneurs across the world, he's able to understand that, oh, he's not like he's not doing well or whatsoever. Like there's so much that he can also pick from other people, that are doing exactly what he's doing. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing that with us. And I want to ask something about scaling a business, right? Scaling a business is often harder than starting one. So what strategies did you use to scale Edvest to achieve $1 million in revenue and maintain resilience?
Okay, so there's a principle I believe in, and which has helped in business as well, which is the fact that you start with what you have, right? Don't wait for what you don't have to do what you need to do. So for us, it was gradual, right? So I mean, as little as looking for the right contacts in another state or in another country to say, okay, this is what we do. Can you link us up with a school or a school association and what have you? And that's how we started gradually. I remember when we were going into Ghana, I started a WhatsApp group, right? I started doing, I think I called it Tech for School or something, or School Owners. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was just a free WhatsApp platform where every Sunday evening, I think 8 p.m., I was giving nuggets to school owners and school administrators on how to manage. I think I remember it was customer relations and sales for school owners or something. So I was just basically teaching them how to manage their customers and how to, sell as a school owner. Because I realized that a lot of school owners are just educationists. They just want to teach the children. They don't have good understanding of customer relations or sales, as it were. So I started up WhatsApp group, and little by little, the WhatsApp group started growing. On WhatsApp, I think you can have about 220 people on a group. I think the group went to like 4 groups. Then, because I just had 220 in this, 220 in that, 220 in that, and all of a sudden, a guy reached out to me. I think I was in London at the time, and he reached out to me to say, of course, when I'm talking to them about customer relations and what have you, I'll tell them how, in one of the 10 points, I'll tell them how technology can help them achieve it, and how there's a tool called Adverse, which is the software that my company is providing that can actually help them to keep in touch with their customers, right? So it was an indirect way of marketing. And the guy was like, oh, he wants us to have a demo. He thinks they're interested in the product. And that was how we had the first customer in Ghana. And from there, we started, looking out for more opportunities. We went to Ghana. We did a free seminar for them and what have you. So I think it's just about using what you have, like I mentioned, using what you have, to grow gradually. Because, I mean, if you want to, anybody will have thought, okay, so we need to do billboards in Ghana. We need to do Facebook marketing. We need to get an office. We need to get this. I mean, by the time you think about all of those things, you just realize that you're not going to do anything because you're looking for money to do what you need to do. So it's been gradual for us. And that's how we've been able to grow so far.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Mr. Dari said you start with what you have. And what I picked from what he said, he started a WhatsApp group. There's someone that is listening that your own idea is a fashion business and all of that. You can start a WhatsApp, group where you just start teaching people how to combine, dresses, accessories and all of that. And with that, you begin to market your stuff. So I believe that you are jotting things down and you are getting things from what Mr. Dari said, and you are applying it to your own business. So you want to scale your business, you need to start with what you have. You don't need to wait till, I need to be on a TV channel to be able to market it. Start from everyone uses WhatsApp, yeah. So start from there, and your business will continue to scale gradually. So I want to ask something, Tap. You're passionate about solving human problems using technology. From the conversation we just had now, how do you identify the right problems to solve, and what role do you think technology plays in Africa's future?
How do you identify the right problem to solve? I think it depends. Research, like we said earlier on, market research, or when you cite an opportunity. So for me, I believe that starting a business is either you're trying to meet a need, you're taking advantage of an opportunity, or you're solving a problem. So if all around us, there are different problems, right?
Yes.
But there's one problem that would catch your attention. I mean, in Africa, in Nigeria, where we don't have electricity, we don't have a lot of things, right? But maybe not all the problems relate to me or strikes my interest. So I think the first thing is looking at your environment and looking at the problems that are, or looking at the opportunities that exist, or looking at the needs that people have, and then look for one that strikes your interest, and then you research more on it, develop a solution to solve it, and then you go for that. What was the second question?
Also, the second question is, what role do you think technology plays in Africa's future?
Okay, so I think there's practically no way we can do without technology, as it were. I think that's even an old gist, as it were. What I mean, people are talking about ML, AI now.
Yeah.
So I believe that there's no business that you want to run now that you don't need to enable it with technology. Right, your business might not be a technology business, but your business should be a technology-driven business, because practically, I mean, there's no way you can even scale a business if you're not using technology. Even if you are into agriculture, you need technology to be able to do, agri on a large scale, and you also need technology to be able to sell the products that your farm will be offering at a large scale. So every business needs to ask themselves that, how do I want to use technology to drive production? How do I want to use technology to drive sales? How do I want to use technology to drive customer service? How do I want to use technology to drive, accounting and every part of business? So I think that every business owner should think, how can I use technology? But of course, like I said, start with what you have. You can start your business paper-based or traditionally in a traditional method, but you should have it in plan to say, okay, maybe after the first 6 months, I will try to start introducing technology into my business so that I would be able to run my business effectively, and also so that I'll be able to scale my business.
Oh, thank you, sir. I believe you are writing your questions down, because I will soon ask you to, ask your question. So, about talking about technology, I believe that from what Mr. Dari said, you should be able to use, some AI tools to be able to scale up your business. That there are times that I believe we can use AI to brainstorm. So you can actually involve AI in brainstorming about, okay, what can I do? There are a lot of times that you can use AI for your market research. It makes your work more effective, right? And I want to talk about tech is the trendy thing now. What do you think about entrepreneurs leveraging on trendy thing? Like taking opportunity of this thing is trendy and trending rather, and then using it, to kind of scale up their business.
Do you mean tech? Tech is trending or what?
Yes, aside tech, like maybe something that is trends, things are happening, like, okay, maybe a particular song is like, I don't know if you get the point. Yeah. So what trends can people jump on? Do you think it's okay?
Yes, it's okay to jump on trends. But you need to be careful. So it needs to be a trend that resonates with your business.
Okay.
I mean, there's what we call customer persona, which is just a representation of who your ideal customer is. So you need to be sure that, for instance, my business will service schools, right? So you need to know the persona of the customer. The customers are school owners. School owners are not Gen Zs, right? School owners are people in their late 30s, people in their late 40s. Some of them are 60 years old, and what have you. So you need to look at the trend. Would this trend resonate with my customer? If the trend doesn't resonate with your customer, if you are jumping on it, then you are jumping on it because it resonates with you as a young business owner, right? So you need to be careful. Once you need to know your customer persona. And when you know your customer persona, everything you do revolves around the persona of your customer, because the persona of the customer describes what they listen to, where do they get their information from, what appeals to them, right? And those are the things that you can now jump on to be able to appeal to those kind of customers.
Wow, amazing. I believe this conversation is really amazing, because there's so much, I'm learning from it. And I believe you're also learning. I know that there's a lot of trendy things on TikTok, like there's a song and everyone wants to just use that song for their business. And I believe that you've learned something from what Mr. Dari said now, that you don't just jump on anything. You need to understand, your users, personality. What do they like? What's their age range? What the kind of audience you are dealing with? So you can't just jump on any, trendy thing. So before I allow you to ask your questions, I have two questions more to ask you, sir. So I want to ask, what is the common mistake you have seen young entrepreneurs make when pitching their ideas or running their businesses?
We're pitching your ideas. I think I was listening to a YouTube channel. I think it was Vusi that said that, I mean, everything we have in business plans, they don't really work. So, of course, we've done that as well, where you just think that, oh, within the next 12 months, we want to acquire 10 million users. A lot of people just think that, I mean, it's very easy to write it down to say, okay, 2025, we want 10 million users. How exactly do you want to get 10 million users? So I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, and of course, we've also fall into that trap at one time or the other, where we just over amplify what it is you can achieve, especially when you're seeking funds and what have you. So you just go and tell investors that, oh, I'll be able to do 3x in the next 3 months. And have you really thought about what it will take you to actually accomplish 3x? I've seen that in a lot of pitches. So I think we need to be realistic sometimes as entrepreneurs when we want to make projections, usually financial projections. We need to be very realistic to say, okay, what can we do? And of course, when I mean realistic, I'm not saying that when you have seen that I can only do 2x, you just say, I want to be realistic. Let me put 1.5x. No, that's not what we're saying. If you can do 2x, then you can want to push yourself a little bit to do 2.5 so that, you're pushing yourself. But what you see happening most times is an entrepreneur can do 2x, but they want to promise 5x, which is not realistic. So you have to be realistic with yourself in setting projections and expectations.
Wow, thank you so much for that, sir. And before I move on to the questions, because questions are already coming in, I want to ask, what's one piece of advice you wish someone had told you when you were starting out?
Maybe not one piece of advice, but what would I have done?
Okay.
I think what I would have done was to maybe go to a business school or something.
Okay.
In fact, before now, I would have said, go and work before you start a business. But I've realized that you don't necessarily need to go and work, because going to work, what you want to go and do working is that you want to go and learn what it is like to run a business. So if you don't want to work, you want to start out like I did, you need programs that can help you to learn how to start a business.
Okay.
Like I said, expertise in developing a solution or sewing or baking, doing website design is one thing. Running a business is another thing. If I had the opportunity to start again, I would have registered for an entrepreneurship academy or a business school to learn the rudiments of, running a business before, or maybe as early as possible, so that as I'm learning, I'm practicalizing, and look for mentors, who would be able to say, no, don't do it this way. This is what you should do in this kind of situation. I think having that is going to help a lot. I put up a post on LinkedIn, I think that was last week, to say that, even at primary and secondary schools, entrepreneurship needs to be not just skill acquisition, right? Yes, it's because it's that skill that you have that will help you to be able to render a service, right? But beyond, acquiring the skill of baking, the skill of coding, and other skills, we need to be able to teach young people entrepreneurship, how to run a business. And people know how to run a business, they know how to, provide a certain skill, success is inevitable.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. So you can take courses on how to run a business. I think is very, 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 very important. So it's not just that you know how to sew, you know how to bake. You must actually understand how to run the business. I know that I've heard gist of people that, they don't even know how to, price the product. They don't even know how much should I put on the negotiations and all of that. So I believe every young entrepreneur here needs to actually understand what how to run a business. It is very, very important. And then you also mentioned mentorship, like mentors, and I think it's something that everyone should take home. Like, you need mentors. You can't just say, oh, you have an idea of how this thing is run, you can watch videos on YouTube. You actually need someone that has so much experience in it, that can guide you through, so that you won't fall, right? So that your business won't go down. So I have a question here from one of the people on the call. The question is, how did you manage risk taking?
Well, you can't do business without taking risk. The only thing is you have to take calculated risk, right? If you have a very low risk appetite, you might not be fit to be an entrepreneur. Sorry to say. But as an entrepreneur, you must be ready to take risk because you can't wait until you're 100% certain that something will work before you jump at it. And you can't be too fast and you can't be too slow, right? I remember that we launched a business. I think that was in 2011 thereabouts. We launched a food delivery business that was just basically connecting restaurants to people that want to buy food. And the business did not work then because the business was earlier than the market, right? Because at that time, a lot of people were not used to doing bike delivery with bikes and what have you. Went to quite a lot of popular restaurants then, and they were actually waiting for us to bring a bike to pick the food. Meanwhile, what we wanted to do was to connect restaurants with delivery people that have bikes for delivery, but there were just not too many people. So my point is that you need to be able to take a risk in business. You need to try things. You need to try another way of doing it. If you can't continue doing the same thing the same way and expect different results, but you must take calculated risk so that you don't get your hands burnt.
So it's safe to say that when you're taking risk, make sure it's something that you can handle. Don't don't overdo it. So this question is quite funny. I don't know if you want to answer, but let me just read it out to you. So this person says, what gaps or opportunities do you think exist in the education space that Edverse hasn't addressed or that might be looking to explore? I said it's funny because I feel like this person wants to know what your company has not addressed, and probably the person can go ahead to address it.
Yeah, Edverse cannot do it all. So we're building an operating system for education, but we believe and we know that we cannot do it all. So where we're positioning ourselves to be is to be that operating system for the education sector, where we can where we can integrate with other people, right? So it's just for you to look at it yourself and say, okay, what has Edverse not done? What do the schools need? If a school is using Edverse, is there something I can build on top of what Edverse is doing and plug in into Edverse? Because I've heard my customers tell me that a vendor will come to them to say, oh, we want to do video lessons for you, for instance.
Okay.
And the school will ask them, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? Which Edverse has? Maybe Edverse does not have that particular feature that, the customer, the vendor is bringing. But because the school is enjoying 3 other things, they're like, okay, if you can bring everything together, we'll leverage on it. And we do integrations. We can't do it alone. So we do integrations. We integrate with, payment companies. We integrate with email companies. We integrate with SMS companies. We're integrating with a company doing simulations and what have you. So definitely we can't do it all, but we are open to collaboration. If it's not something that is in our product roadmap, definitely we're open to integrate with people.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. So the person that asks this question, you should do your market research, find out what Edverse has not done so that, you can add to it. And someone asked this question, you remember our conversation about tech. So this person said, do you think every entrepreneur should be involved in technology, no matter the kind of business you're running? For example, someone selling akara.
Yes. If I want to eat akara, first of all, so some people don't want to go to the akara shop to buy the akara because they don't want to be seen buying akara, right?
Yes.
And some people don't have the time to buy the akara, right? So you can jump on a platform like Glovo or what have you to list your business on there so that people that want to buy akara can easily order for akara and then you bring it to them. And come to think of it, you can even give them an option of saying, okay, do you want it to be salty? Do you want it to be peppery? Do you want to, they can be able to customize their order and then you process it. So making your business technology driven doesn't mean that you are building a software to mix the akara for you. It just means that, yes, you might still be, doing the akara. And it will get to a stage that when we talk about technology, it doesn't have to be with internet. It might get to a stage where you have a machine that makes the akara for you, You have maybe you even want to use robots to put their car on the baking, whatever, and what have you. But yes, every business can be technology driven. It doesn't mean that you have to write a software, you have to write a code. It just means that an aspect of your business is technology driven.
Thank you, sir. So people on the call, you cannot run away from tech. If you are thinking, oh, my idea is I want to sell pap, you will still use tech. You need to, be conversant with how to, incorporate tech into your business and all of that. Thank you so much for your questions, and you can keep sending in your questions. There's a question here. Reasons why startups failed was discussed today. Lack of proper market research, not knowing what it takes to run business. So if one did not go through all of the above and more before starting a business, can one start them after the business must have started? I think I need to read this question. So this person says, reasons why startups failed was discussed. We mentioned lack of proper market research, not knowing what it takes to run the business. So if one did not go through all this, like I didn't do market research and all of that, before you started your business, can one start them after the business was started?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, you can. If you didn't do it when you started a year ago or 2 years ago, there's nothing stopping you from starting it now. I mean, like an example is if you were traveling, let me say you want to travel this way and you started your journey on this way. If no matter how far you have gone here, it can never land you here. So the best thing is to turn back and come to the right way. So
yes,
if you say, okay, I'm supposed to have done a research, I'm supposed to have acquired some knowledge before starting my business, and you didn't start it, you'll keep on making errors upon errors. So it's never too late for you to, take a little bit time to do the proper things so that your business would be able to succeed. Because I mean, I believe that if you're starting a business, you're not starting it because, except you're just starting it to let me just make ends meet, and then after 2 years, I'm going to dump it and do something else. But if you want a business that outlive you, then the earlier the better. You just retrace your steps back and do the necessary.
Yes, that makes sense. So if you have not done your market research, it's not late at all. You can start everything all over. Everything you've learned here today, you can start, implementing them, all over again. And someone asked, I think we already mentioned the lessons you learned, but I think the person still wants you to talk about it. So what are some key lessons you learned during your entrepreneurial journey? Maybe like 2, 3. I know you've mentioned it earlier, but maybe you can just still talk about it again. The key lessons you learned.
I think another lesson is people management. I mean, that's one key aspect. The knowledge it takes to manage a team of 2 is different from managing a team of 10. It's different from managing a team of 50, right? So you need to learn how to manage people. You need to learn how to lead people. That is very, very important. Managing your finance are very important. I think earlier on when we started, I found it difficult to delegate. Then. And after some times, I just realized that you need to be able to trust the people working with you because you can't do it all, right? If you have a business where you're the one doing everything, you're just self-employed. You don't have a business because it means if you're sleeping, the business is sleeping.
Sure.
Right? And if you have to be there, even if you have team members and you have to be there for things to work, then that business is sitting on a bomb that is just waiting to explode. So we need to learn to trust people, first of all, by teaching them what to do, doing it while they are watching you, and then you also allow them do it while you're watching them, and then you can allow them do it by themselves. So when we say delegate, it doesn't mean that you just call the person and say, okay, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 and then you leave the person. The person will definitely make errors, but the person needs to be taught what to do. The person needs to watch you do what needs to be done. You also need to allow the person do it while you watch the person, and then, you can have an opportunity to correct the person and allow the person. And of course, you need to allow them make mistakes. If you have team members working with you, they would make mistakes. It's fine if they make mistake the first time, the second time. But of course, if somebody is making mistake over and over again, it might be that person is not the right fit. I think another key lesson is be slow to hire, but be quick to fire. be slow to hire, but be quick to fire. Because I think that we've made that mistake before, and it really burnt a lot. Because you're like, oh, this person, yeah, entrepreneurship, you have to apply emotional intelligence. Yes, emotions, you can't remove emotions from business, but sometimes you might just need to say, we're sorry, we're still friends. But this business, you have to be out.
Thank you, sir. And I want to just build on what Mr. Dari said about you have to, you have to be quick to fire. I know a lot of times people they don't want to, oh, I don't want to sack this person. I don't want this person to see me as a bad person. But this is business here. You need to know how to manage, business relationship, right? You can't just say, oh, because this person is close to me and all of that, let me just manage to. You can't manage to if you want your business to continue to scale up. So we'll be done in the next 8 minutes. I just have 2 more questions and then we'll be done. So, sir, I know that you're someone that prioritizes family and your work with God. So I want to ask, what role does faith play in your decision making as an entrepreneur, like especially during tough times?
During tough times. I mean, when I'm discussing with people, I always say that you can't just be on your own. You can't just be on your own. You have to. There's a song that says I get backing or something like that. You have to have a backing.
Alone.
I know they work alone. You have to have backing. Do you understand? You can't do it just by yourself.
Yes, sir.
There's life is spiritual, right? So there's a God that works in the affairs of men. And when things are tough, you need to be able to go back to that God and say, Father, this is what is happening. What should I do? And I mean, as a Christian, the Holy Spirit is able to guide you to say, okay, in this place, don't do this. In this place, do this. So because you can't rely on your wisdom alone. There's some things that you can't just think through it with your wisdom. You need to get back in.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. And to also buttress on what Mr. Dari said, you can't do anything alone without God. There's a place of, you praying to God and God even telling you what to do. I've heard testimonies of people saying that, oh, I got this business idea while praying. God just gave me this idea. So as, business owners, you can't just rely on, I know it all and all of that. There is the place of God in your business, and you can't do it without God. You need to, involve God in everything you do. And so the last question for tonight, sir, I don't think any other person have a question. Okay, I have one question before I ask my last question. So please, we are done. You can't drop your question again. We have 6 minutes more. So this question, the person says, what if you start your business in Nigeria and your parents want you to jackpot as a teenager, but you are sure your business will thrive in Africa? So what do you do in such situation?
Well, the world is not a global village. It depends on the kind of business that you're running and the kind of structures that you've put in place. So I think another key lesson about running business is putting in structures. And that's why I said, you have to have a team. You have to have team members. You need to be able to trust them. You need to train them to be able to do the work. So if it's a business that you can manage remotely, definitely that won't be a problem. Wherever you are in the world, once you have internet and you have capable teams, right? So for instance, even in Nigeria, we have our team members in different locations, right? And we communicate with each other virtually. We run the business virtually, as it were. So I don't think that would be a problem. Depending on where you are going to, depending on the time zone, even if the time zone is far apart, you can still be able to manage the business if you have put in proper structure in place. And so it also depends on you discussing with your parents, helping them to see what the vision of your business is, seeing what you've achieved. And if you really have to be out of the country, I want to believe that with proper structure in place, you can run your business.
Yes, thank you, sir. And to add to what Mr. Dari said, I know someone that has a school in Ibadan. The husband, the wife, they've jackpot already. and their school is still running, and that boils down to you putting structure to what they're. So if you have this idea, you can just start put structure, and then like Mr. Dari said, discuss with your parents, and I believe you will be fine. So the last question that I have for you, sir, before we wrap up tonight is, if you were to mentor a budding entrepreneur, sir, what qualities would you look for in them?
Somebody who is ready to learn, and is ready to implement what is being taught. Someone who is serious with the business, who understands exactly why he or she has started the business and is ready to go all out for the business. Trust me, entrepreneurship is hard. It's hard. I mean, there are days where you're like, can't I just go and get a job? I mean, my mates have a job and they're not thinking about anything. They're just thinking about, ending of the month. Today is 22. Salary will show enter. Meanwhile, me, I'm thinking that, how am I going to pay salaries at the end of this month? Or I'm thinking, what am I going to do for my team in Christmas? So you're carrying the burden of so many people. So it has to be somebody who believes in what they are doing. If you don't believe in what you are doing, look for something else to do if you really want to be an entrepreneur. And if you think you don't need to be an entrepreneur, I mean, get a job. It's fine.
Thank you, sir. So I believe there's someone you're eyeing that, I want this person to be my mentor. You've already heard what Mr. Dari said. You have to be someone that is committed to the idea. You have someone that is ready to learn. So I believe if you have all those, traits that Mr. Dari mentioned, the person should be able to, to mentor you well. And I want to say thank you so much, sir. I've learned so much from this conversation. And I want to believe that people on the call have also learned. And I believe you are going to implement everything that you've learned so much. And I want to also believe that you enjoyed the conversation as I enjoyed it. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. Yes, I really enjoyed the conversation.
All right, thank
myself.
you, sir.
So thank you all for joining.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. So we'll meet another time. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.